What is poppin' five fans, and welcome to another episode of the Mystic Hour Live. And I am joined and have the honor of having a former Cage Rage flyweight champion. She fights Ji Yeon Kim this Saturday, September 4th at UFC Fight Night 191. You know her, Meatball Molly Mccann in the house. How you doing, Molly?
I'm doing good, but before we start the interview, I'm just going to whack my sponsors out there and just say, big up the sponsor team and thanks very much for all the work.
Absolutely. Got to shout out the sponsors. Of course, of course. You are in Vegas now. Feel being here again. You were here back in February.
Yeah, man. Second time in Vegas. The first time didn't go the way we planned and we wanted, but we're here to rectify that. And it's not as daunting the second time that you come. It's a little bit more easier, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and the fights were originally supposed to be in the UK. When you heard the news, it changed to Vegas. How did you feel about that?
I was a bit devastated because me, Paddy, and Darren have really good walkouts with the crowds. So to not have that was a little bit. It was bittersweet, but we're fighting in Las Vegas, mate. So I can't complain. This is something when you're a kid you dream of. Do you know what I mean? This is sometimes some people never get to fight here, and this is my second time. So I'm extremely grateful. I'm extremely happy. Pardon me. You know everyone here. There's a lot of Brits out here already. Pardon me. So everything's good, mate. It's exciting.
Yeah, and were you originally supposed to have like a good amount of family going there when it was in the UK?
Yeah, listen, me and Paddy can sell tickets, thousands of tickets. So it was a bit of a bummer that we can't have our family there. But in hindsight, everyone gets to watch it on UK time. So, I mean, the whole of Liverpool, when I'm looking down that lens, when Bruce Buffer says my name and he says, the fighting pride of Liverpool or whatever I want him to say, I just know everyone will be screaming at the TVs, at the projectors, at the phones. Everyone will be screaming for us. So everyone gets to watch it, and that's all I bothered about.
And sometimes it's hard to find entrances, that you love as much. And I know you and Jose Aldo have the same song you guys come out to. But when you come out to that song, I promise you, Molly, it gives me like a different kind of energy because you can just see that passion in you when you come out.
Yeah.
And do you
Yeah.
think
Yes.
do you feel more pressure fighting over in Liverpool in the UK, or just it doesn't matter to
Oh,
you?
it doesn't really matter as long as I've got my teammates around me, if I'm being honest. I've been really fortunate enough to, when I fought stateside in Boston and South Carolina, friends and one of my sponsors, Danny Lay, and a lot of my really good close friends have always travelled to watch. So that's cool. But when I've got to the elite level, it's not really about anyone else anymore. It's about me. And I know when we fight in England, then it's about the fans and then it's about our people. But less pressure here, and especially with my training partner Paddy and with Darren Till on the card, not more eyes are fixated on them, but like there's not as much pressure on me being the only Brit on the card or anything like that. So, mate, I'm headlining the prelims. Headlining. I'm top of the prelim.
Yeah.
There's an hour wait, and then Patrick opens the main card. So it's something that we put out into the universe. We always knew it was going to happen. Now we're there. Now we're living and breathing the dream. So it's not going to be forever that we get to do this. So these are the times that you take it all in, and especially now it's on Wednesday. So we haven't had carbs for a good few days now, and the water load has begun, and it's just enjoying every bit of the process. This nasty, horrible bit where I'm living now, I'm living for it.
Yeah, and the last time that you were here against Laura, it didn't go your way. And I remember you putting the gloves on the floor and kind of having a little discouraged after. What did you do in that meantime to help that mental?
Well, it was my late father's birthday on that day, So there was a lot of emotion on the day, and I was expecting someone who was going to fight a little bit of a different style, like not style. I just didn't expect someone to just lie on me and not really advance or, like stall the fight.
Yeah.
So it was frustrating, and I left Las Vegas. I took about 4 days off, and then I stayed in Las Vegas for a week, and I trained with
Yeah.
Gillian Robertson. So she was the person who
Yeah.
beat me in my UFC debut. So I rang her up and said, "Can I come
That's
and
right.
train with you for the fight week? Speak with Din, work some stuff out." And from there, I had about 4 days back at home in the UK, and then I flew to Spain, where no one knew me, to a gym. A guy I know called Chris Thompson. He's a catch wrestler. I went and stayed with him for about 5 weeks and his wife Louise at Ilias and Barnett Gym, just by Marbella in Spain. And I just lived for the grappling, and I just got a new lease at fighting again. And there's no pressure on me in this fight. I know it's the last fight on my contract, but there's no pressure, mate. I'm just going in to do me, and it doesn't matter what my opponent brings to the table. I'm going in to do me. The last two fight camps have been very focused on my opponent, and this whole fight camp was about elevating me and what I'm good at. And when I grapple and I'm offensive with it, I'm really good. And we just tweaked a few things around, and that was it.
Yeah. And do you feel that it's important for fighters maybe to get a different look than they're used to because you'll be at the same gym, maybe you're doing the same kind of thing every day. You feel it's important to kind of get that different look and it'll help in the game when you're in the cage?
What I do after a fight, I go on holiday and travel, or I go and travel and train. It just depends. If I'm like really injured, I can't train, and if I'm come out unscathed, I go and travel. So my whole life, when I fight, I used to come to America a lot and train with an ex-UFC fighter called Amanda Bobby Cooper.
Yeah, I remember her.
And yeah, and like that's kind of what I'm up to, mate. But I'm lucky enough where I'm from Liverpool, and we're a fighting city, and we have it all. Like, I think we have the most fighters out of Liverpool to have ever fought in the UFC, out like in all the cities in England. So it goes to show like we're good at it all. So I just go to enjoy some time off and learn a little bit. But I have it all in Liverpool, mate. We have like a mini PI at Liverpool John Moores University. So I'm ex student from that university. I graduated there, and the head of strength and conditioning is called Carl Evans, and he kind of took me under his wing. And in terms of strength and conditioning, I'm sorted. I train at one of the best boxing gyms in the world, in the Rotunda Boxing Gym with Joe Mack and Dec Rourke, and O'Rourke, sorry. And then in my gym, you don't get much better for grappling than Next Generation MMA, and we proved that in Paddy Pimblett and everyone in our. It's a grappling gym in a sense, so I'm kind of in the right place.
That's awesome. And I always feel like, taking maybe a little bit of time off before you start something is always a good thing, especially for the mind. And when they offer you that fight with Yi, did you know who she was? Were you okay accepting that fight? It didn't matter who it was going to be?
No, so I've never turned down a fight as long as I wasn't injured. So I'm not sure if you've seen, I blew my orbital bone in one fight.
Yeah.
I was offered a fight 2 weeks later and still took the fight.
Yeah.
We don't turn down fights, and I think that's why people like me. When I come to fight, I fight. But I'm a fan first and foremost of the UFC and of combat sport. So my weekends are full of watching UFC, like Matchroom Boxing or Sky Sport Boxing in England. So I haven't missed a fight card, I think, for about 8 years, maybe 9 years. So I've seen every one of Kim's fights. And I always laughed and joked because when she fights, she has no emotion. And I was around like a few of my girlfriends' house, so there's about 6 of us, all the girls. Once we was watching her fight, and I rang the girls and I went, "Do you know that girl who doesn't show any emotion?" There's like the South Korean. I said, "Yeah, that's who I'm fighting." And they was like, "Oh my God, we've watched this." So I think if you don't watch your opponents, if you don't watch the UFC, and you're a fighter in the UFC, or you're not up to date with your roster, you're a bit naive. Do you know? Like I've seen every fighter grow in our division. Like you've got Shevchenko, and then the other 24 women in the division. Literally, we're all like on the same level near enough. There's not much difference in anyone, so everyone's going to have their chance.
Yeah, and you've got Paddy on the card. You've got Darren on the card. You got other fighters from UK, Tom Aspinall, Jack Shore, so many of you guys. Is it going to almost feel like you're home?
Mate, it does. Like, we're mates with Jack Shore, and we come from Cage Warriors. So me, Paddy, and Jack are all former Cage Warriors world champions. You've got Marcus Badescas, who's a former Cage Warriors world champion.
Yep.
Tom Aspinall used to fight on Cage Warriors. It's like, and most of us are managed by Graham Boylan at Intensity Fight Management. So it feels like home, and we all have a good vibe about us, and it's like a close-knit community. Do you know what I mean? So it's nice. It's really nice to have this.
Yeah, and
it feels
Paddy's,
like I'm in England.
Yeah, it's the same feeling, I feel. And Paddy's he's a former champion of Cage Warriors. And did you give him any advice about making your debut in the UFC? Because it can feel like a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, like he was world champion in Cage Warriors when I had my first fight in Cage Warriors, and he talked me through the ropes. And he was like, make sure you pick a belt to walkout tune, Mal. I was like, I will. So we have really good walkout tunes. And then I lost my UFC debut, so I had loads to give him and loads of advice to give him. And when he lost one of his fights, and when I lost, he gave me advice on how to deal with it. And we both didn't know how. We're not taught to lose. That's not in our vocabulary. So when we both lost, it was a bit like the gym was like, whoa. And I've just said to him, listen, come out flying, come out swinging, and go and do you. Don't rest. Don't take a backward step. Like, your life will change in those 3 5-minute rounds. You've got the opportunity to change your life and your family's life. And when we all win, there'll be a real big chance of us bringing the UFC back to Liverpool.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see that happen, because the energy over there is just different. And I feel that the Liverpool fighters, you guys have a different confidence. And that's something that you brought up. I was looking through some of your Instagram stories. What gives the Liverpool fighters that much confidence? Where does that come from?
1 second, mate. Sorry. Yeah. I'm just on an interview. That's all right. So here's my coaches anyway. Here's Ellis. Here's Adam. They've been Paddy's training partners. Paddy's training partners and coaches his whole life, and mine as well. Awesome. But they can't hear you because he's saying iron anyway, lads. What did you say again?
Darren Till always talked about, the confidence that you guys have. He said, I don't care if I lose 5 fights, 6 fights, 7 fights, doesn't matter. I'm going to keep fighting until I get to that point that I want. Where does that confidence come from?
Liverpool's just hard working city, mate. And just everyone kind of backs their own people. And when you're good at what you do, you can be confident. And everyone, like, we call it being game. So everyone's like, I think Americans would say, like, that person's a stud. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like everyone's just like everyone works hard, doesn't cut corners really, and it's like if you go to any inner city, everyone's got a bit about them, haven't they, lads? So.
And Paddy came as not as a champion. You came to the UFC as champion. Do you feel that maybe you should have stayed in Cage Warrior a little bit longer, or you're okay getting the experience that you get right now in the UFC?
I was 29 when I got signed to the UFC. I didn't really have much more time to be able to waste. We knew I only had, I think it was 9 fights signing to the UFC. So we knew what was being asked of me was always going to be maybe a bit too much. But when the UFC comes calling, I'm not Paddy, and I won't turn it down twice. But he was only young and he could because he had time on his side. But I never. So I was told I wasn't on the fight card, and then my football team, or as Americans you'd say soccer team, Everton Football Club, kind of pushed and then got me on the card. So I don't change. I wouldn't change my journey, and it's everything's got its own purpose and for its reason. Do you know what I mean, mate?
Yeah, and you never turned down any fights, of course. Would you ever be down to do a boxing match? Because you're seeing a lot of MMA guys cross over and fighting in boxing. Do you think that's something you see in your future?
Yeah, I'll finish with boxing, mate. I started with boxing. I was a national champion, like a Golden Glove champion, you'd call it in America, I think. So that's on the card. Do you know, sometimes when I lose fights, people go, just go back to boxing. But I wouldn't dream of it because I'm absolutely in love with MMA and everything about it. And boxing kind of broke my heart as a kid. So I'd like to finish there. I'd like to finish on like a matchroom boxing show, hopefully in Liverpool. Do you know what I mean?
That'd be awesome, and I would love to see that, of course. And of course, Molly, a couple more things before we get you out of here. And thank you for the time. Besides, there's fighting, there's MMA, there's boxing. Who is Molly Mccann outside? Just fighting in there. What do you fight for?
I just like to say equality. I'm for like what's the word? Bless you, lad. Fighting for the man, mate. Do you know what I mean? That's a hard question, I reckon. When I'm fighting in the cage, it's obviously for your family, for your friends, and for your city. But like me role outside would be for the next generation, I suppose, and making sure I try and be as good of a role model as I can. I might get it wrong a few times, or especially if I've had a drink. But other than that, mate, for the man.
And speaking of equality, Stonewall UK, can you explain the importance of that?
Yeah, Stonewall is the biggest LGBTQ plus charity in the world. Actually, it started in New York. So they made me an ambassador and a game changer. So I've got a book called Be True to You, and it's about my coming out story. And basically, they added it to their library of education. And after this fight, I'll be able to go into schools, talk about that, helping people understand how to come out in a safe space, and hopefully help people in combat sports come out, because there's yet to be a male combat athlete come out. So I'd like that. I'd like to help with that.
That's awesome, Molly. And last but not least, of course, what are 3 things right now in your life that you're thankful for or grateful for?
I write this every single day, and I could go on, but for me health, for me family, for me gym and me team, and then I always say for my gift for fighting.
Absolutely, Molly. And before you leave, I gotta get that energy out of you. What is gonna happen there this Saturday? What are you gonna do in there? What's gonna happen to G when you get in there? I need that energy from you.
Okay, I don't want to be shouting, but she's getting fucked, lads. She's getting finished. And that's all you need to know.
Absolutely, Molly. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Hope to interview you one day in person, of course. We'll see you on Saturday, September 4th. She headlines against Ji Kim. We'll see you there, Molly. Thank you so much for coming on.
Toodaloo.
Toodaloo. Molly Mccann, ladies and gentlemen, she fights this Saturday, September 4th. Hope you guys check her out. And of course, at Mystic Black MMA on Instagram. Got more coming for you this week. See you guys later.